What's going on YouTube? JT Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of After the Movie. Currently at my house right now because I just got done watching A Christmas Story Christmas. That's right, the long-awaited sequel to A Christmas Story, which technically it's the third sequel or fourth sequel if you count My Summer Story and unfortunately, A Christmas Story 2, the official sequel, as they called it. Fun fact, I was actually the first person to review that movie, the second Christmas Story, A Christmas Story 2, on YouTube, like 10 years ago, and now 10 years later, we're getting an actually true sequel, I should say, because The Christmas Story 2 didn't have any of the original cast members. That one felt more like a cynical cash grab. This one, on the other hand, feels like its heart's in the right place, per se. Peter Billingsley is back as Ralphie nearly 40 years later. It's such a weird feeling because there's been a lot of legacy sequels in over the past like year or so. It feels like to movies like 10 years apart at least. We had Top Gun Maverick obviously this year, which was 30 something years. Christmas Story Christmas, which I feel like they could have had a different name for it other than A Christmas Story Christmas, because it's already a Christmas story, but like why add Christmas to it in the title? It seems a little redundant. But we had that, and then we just had, what is it, Disenchanted yesterday, which wasn't very good. And now we're up to this point with A Christmas Story Christmas, which Peter Billingsley is back. There's a few other actors. The actor who played Randy is back, and then Flick and Schwartz, Roverdale, and of course Scott Farkas are back for this movie for brief kind of appearances. But the main focal point of this movie is Peter Billingsley as Ralphie, and you can definitely see he still has some of that Ralphie charm from the original. Now, the original Christmas Story, what can I say? It's classic, it's iconic. I even rewatched it this past week in preparation for the new movie because I hadn't seen it in a minute. I know it plays for 24 hours on CBS or TBS all like Christmas Eve. It's kind of the little movie that just got a little bit overblown in terms of proportion. It was a smaller, more personal. It felt real, and then it just became this pop culture icon. It just kept growing and growing, and then it just became everywhere. This movie, it doesn't. I will say this about the new movie: I did enjoy it overall. It's not nearly as good as the first film, but its heart's in the right place. It doesn't feel cynically made like A Christmas Story 2 was. That movie felt like, okay, we're going to make a sequel to A Christmas Story, not going to bring back any of the original cast members, and we're going to blatantly say the official sequel. It didn't feel right. No, no, no. If you're going to make a sequel to A Christmas Story, you should have brought back the original cast. And pretty much everyone who's alive and was in that first movie is back. Well, not the teacher. And they had a different actress for the mom because the original actress, I guess, is retired. And it's kind of a shame she didn't come out of retirement for this thing. I feel like it would have worked a little bit better. But the focal point of this movie is he took a year off, and he's a bit of a struggling writer trying to get his manuscript published. And it's about Christmas time, so his parents usually come to town. And then he unfortunately gets the call that his old man passed away, Darren McGavin, who obviously Darren McGavin was one of the best parts of the original movie. Sons of bitches, bumpuses. He just had really great comedic timing. Although the actor who plays him, Darren McGavin, passed away, I think a lot longer ago. I think he passed away like 10 years ago. But regardless, within the movie's continuity, he just passed away. So, set years later, and Ralphie heads back home to Indiana. He's been struggling. He's trying to put together the best Christmas while also trying to write his dad's obituary and trying to get published as a writer and stuff. Things aren't exactly going his way. He bumps into Flick and Schwartz. He still has the same dream sequences that he did as a kid. I felt like those worked better as a kid, but here they're made intentionally to be very kind of hokey and cheesy, even going down to his little snowball fights and things kind of getting overblown and out of proportion. It's definitely a lot of nostalgia member berries within this movie, as you can see when you watch it. It definitely has a lot of that in there. I feel like if you didn't see the first one, maybe a lot of this won't connect with you as much as the original did. Or this is a movie, let's face it, you're probably not going to watch this movie unless you saw the original Christmas Story, because a lot of this movie is based around your knowledge of the first film. You could still watch it as is, but if you're not as familiar with the first movie, it probably won't have as much of an effect. Because, like I said, there's a lot of member berries nostalgia. They see the Red Rider in his attic, bits of the lamp, and all sorts of other things when he's kind of up there. And I'll say this this has over the original. I think the emotional moment between where Ralphie kind of has to mourn the death of his dad. I thought the original didn't quite have as much sad emotional beats as this one did. But that's more of an innocent time than the movie that we're kind of showcasing here. So, and the way it kind of wraps itself up, it ties nicely into the first film and what that film was basically, which was Ralphie as an adult recalling what happened to him as a kid, and the way it kind of connects with that. I thought that was kind of nice. I think the thing with this new one, it doesn't quite pack the punch of the original. For instance, I'll give you a scene that really kind of stands out. When Ralphie is going to like see Santa, there was kind of that Bob Clark edge that he had in terms of his films. Obviously, Bob Clark's made some pretty hard R-rated movies. He's made the Porky's films, he made Black Christmas, and a few other things. But there's kind of that cynical Santa Claus who was just such a jerk, and he had the elves in that, and that was genuinely really funny, and the kids were terrified. You don't quite have something like that in this movie. Yeah, Ralphie kind of has moments like that where he's having his little dream sequences and he imagines things as horrifying as possible, but it doesn't quite have the punch. Then you have Flick and Schwartz who show up, and there's a few funny bits there, but it doesn't quite pack the punch like the original did. I think too is because with him as a kid, it's kind of like it. You know what I'm saying? Like It chapters 1 and 2. I think the stuff focused on the kids is always stronger with these types of stories than focused on the adults per se. But I will say this: it is made with heart. It isn't made, yeah, it isn't made cynically because it took them 40 years to make the sequel out. I mean, with that said, you could have been a little bit stronger, a little bit tighter in some ways, and maybe the laughs could have packed more of a punch. But it's not mean-spirited. Its heart's in the right place, and I think that's enough for me to recommend it. As somebody who really likes the original, I don't think this is on par with it, but as a sequel I wasn't really asking for to a really iconic Christmas film. I did enjoy it overall, and it was nice to see Peter Billingsley in a lead role. I can't remember the last time I've seen this guy lead a movie, and he's got the charisma and personality to do so, and I'm surprised he never led more stuff. But it was nice to see there was just kind of a surrealness too. Like, I'm watching a sequel to A Christmas Story with the original cast back 40 years later. I've been watching A Christmas Story since I was a kid on VHS pretty much every Christmas time. Is it my favorite Christmas movie? No, I wouldn't say that. I think National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is up there, and obviously Home Alone's up there, and a few other things. But this one I think is still, or A Christmas Story is still a top tier one, and this is one I think people who are fans of the original most likely enjoy. It's definitely got a lot of callbacks to that, and there are a few funny bits too where you get to showcase a little bit of the violence, particularly what happens with Ralphie's kid, and he's in the middle of a snowball fight, and he accidentally puts his daughter in the hospital. I don't know, something about that kind of, it was kind of darkly funny. So yeah, but anyways, Christmas Story Christmas, I enjoyed it enough. I don't think it's on par with the original, but its heart's in the right place, and it doesn't feel so much like a cynical cash grab as A Christmas Story 2. And the story at this point is a little bit different than the original. Like, this is just about somebody trying to figure out how they can move on from loss and how they can live up to expectations of their parents and that. So maybe some elements of A Christmas Vacation where Clark was trying to make a fun old-fashioned family Christmas. Ralphie's trying to do something kind of similar, and he feels like he's kind of screwing up. But he's not mean. He's not mean in really any way to his wife and kids in that. But he's trying, at least. So there you go. Those are my quick thoughts on A Christmas Story Christmas. I enjoyed it just fine. It's exclusively on HBO Max if you get the chance to check it out. It's a lot better than the other sequel years later I watched yesterday called Disenchanted. I don't recommend that one, but I recommend watching Christmas Story Christmas. Really, if you're a fan of the original. If you're not a fan of the original, you'll just think this one's okay or something like that. But I enjoyed it just fine. So anyways, those are my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, all that other fun stuff. And as always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. I'll probably still need to see Wakanda Forever, but we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, take care now. Bye-bye then. Peace. Merry Christmas too.